Shrimp and grits is one of my absolute most favorite foods, and I've been trying to duplicate a recipe that I had at a restaurant once, and I finally, after months and months of testing, got it down. I'm going to show you exactly how to make quick and easy shrimp and grits using your pressure cooker. Welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're gonna make shrimp and grits. Now there are tons and tons of varieties of shrimp and grits. So this one is sort of a fusion of flavors, but they all come together perfectly and you have the most flavorful, creamy, and cheesy grits with perfectly cooked shrimp. So the first thing I start off with is 12 ounces of jumbo shrimp. These are, I think, 21 count, and they were frozen, but I have them in cold water, and they're gonna thaw really quickly. So I'll finish thawing the shrimp as I make the grits. That is how easy this recipe is. So this shrimp and grits recipe comes together super fast. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and start to heat up the Ninja Foodi on sear saute using the high function. So we'll hit start there, and then I can talk about the other ingredients. I'm also gonna add a little bit of olive oil, just a tiny bit, to the inner pot. Now you don't have to have the Ninja Foodi to make this. You could use it, your Instant Pot or any pressure cooker. You can even make this on the stove, although the directions would be a little bit different since we are gonna pressure cook. All right, so what is the star of shrimp and grits? Well, I think the shrimp is, honestly, but also the grits are important. So what I have here is a white stone ground grit, or grits, I should say. And I buy them from Palmetto Farms. That's my favorite brand that I found so far. They are just wonderful. And I can't find them locally, so I had to order them from Amazon. They come in a nice bag, and inside this bag, they're sealed up. And then I keep my grits in the freezer just because I like to make sure that they stay good. Okay, so I have a half of a cup of these white stone ground grits, but we're gonna use a total of a cup of the base for our shrimp and grits, but I don't use all grits. So my texture secret, if you will, is using a multicolored quinoa along with the grits. I urge you to try this combination. It is absolutely delicious. You get a little bit more texture than you would with just all grits. However, if you wanted to substitute and use all grits, you absolutely can, but take your liquid up from 1.5 cups of chicken stock, take it up to 2 or even 2.5. Probably I would start with 2, see how that goes. All right, so that's my grit portion of the shrimp and grits. And now let's talk about some flavorings. So the recipe that I had tasso ham in it. Oh my gosh, it was unbelievably good, but I can't find that here where I live either. So after trying a few different types of a meat seasoning, a flavoring using meat, the chorizo sausage was the winner. This adds such a great flavor. If you're not gonna use it, like if you wanted to skip the sausage altogether, you're definitely gonna have to adjust your seasonings because the chorizo sausage is so full of flavor. And that's the first thing we're gonna get into the pot because we're gonna start to cook it up a little bit. So now that the pot's hot and we've got the olive oil hot, I'm gonna put the chorizo sausage. That's 4 ounces of chorizo. And I'll break it up a little bit. Once this starts cooking, I'm gonna add in an onion that I've already diced up. The onion is a sweet onion, but it makes no difference. Use what you have. And it's in about a 1/2 inch dice. They're kind of on the large side since we're pressure cooking. All right, go ahead and add that in. Now the red pepper strips that I'm using, I used 1 red bell pepper, and you can either use the mini peppers if you want, 3 or 4 of them would be fine, or you could use the bell pepper. Not gonna add those in quite yet because they're gonna get plenty soft during the pressure cook time, so I'm not gonna even saute them in with this mixture. All right, next up is the seasoning blend. What I'm using is 1 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now, this is a very mildly spiced shrimp and grits. So if you like yours a little spicier, definitely add some more cayenne or even throw in a jalapeno if you want or another type of pepper. If you don't like any spice whatsoever, then omit the cayenne. I'm gonna add that in right there. Now we can go ahead and get our multicolored quinoa in, half of a cup of the grits. Give this a nice little stir around. It's already beautiful looking. Wow. So good. And we are going to get ready to pressure cook. The chorizo sausage is nicely dispersed now all throughout the quinoa. That's going to ensure that you have flavor in every single bite. All right, 1.5 cups of chicken stock is going in. Now you don't have to use chicken stock if you don't want to. You could use even plain water, or you could use any kind of vegetable stock if you wanted to. That would be fine. All right, we're gonna put those peppers in. Now the peppers do get very soft, and they just sort of leave a little trail of color and a little bit of flavor in the dish. But if you like your peppers to be a little bit on the firmer side, then you could certainly wait and add them. Saute them maybe a little bit and add them at the end. That would be perfectly fine. All right, we're ready to go under pressure. Put the lid on. Make sure the valve in the back is to the sealed position. We're gonna switch functions over here to pressure cook. High is what we want. And we're gonna go down to 3 minutes. Hit start. Once the pressure time is done, so the 3 minutes is finished, we will do a 10-minute natural release time. And then if there's any remaining pressure, I'll release the remaining pressure and we will finish up our shrimp and grits. All right, the pin is dropped. We can open up the lid now. Do that away from you. And it looks so good. Look at that. Now, don't worry if it looks a little bit soupy because we're gonna let the shrimp sit in. We're also gonna add some cheese that thickens it up and a little bit of cream. All right, so I have the 12 ounces of shrimp. They're completely thawed. I took the shells off. Don't throw the shells away because they make a terrific shrimp stock for your shrimp scampi and other dishes. So the first thing I like to do is get my shrimp in and under the grits as much as possible so that they start to cook. Now you can honestly pressure cook with the shrimp if you want. I've done some short pressure cook times with shrimp and even some longer ones, and they do hold up, but I like my shrimp to be just done, not overdone. All right, so while the shrimp just sit in there for about 3 minutes, let me talk about the cheese I'm gonna add. So what I have found is that this Dubliner cheese by Kerrygold is perfect for shrimp and grits. It's like a really sharp cheddar, but also aged like a Parmesan. I mean, it is really delicious. If you can find this at the store, I really recommend it. But if not, you could use a combination of a sharp white cheddar or yellow cheddar. It will just change the color of your shrimp and grits, but a white cheddar, really sharp white cheddar, or and Parmesan. Do both, and you'll get a good combination of cheeses, or do any cheeses you want. That's perfectly fine too. So it's 4 ounces that I just shredded, just a tad over a cup. Okay, I'm gonna add those in now. I can see my shrimp are already starting to cook, so I'm gonna add the cheese in now. And we also want to add in a half of a cup of heavy cream. Now that is optional. You don't have to do that, but I just find it gives a richness and a real creaminess to the shrimp and grits. Now stir really well to incorporate everything. And then we're going to put the lid on and we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes while the shrimp finish cooking. And then we will serve up our shrimp and grits. They are a beautiful color. They are so creamy. The flavors are amazing and so easy in the pressure cooker. Make sure all my shrimp are underneath so that they get the full extent of the heat. Now, if you wanted to, you could put on the low sear saute, but I haven't found that necessary. So I'm just gonna put the lid back on, leave it on the keep warm, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be serving up our shrimp and grits. It's been about 7 or 8 minutes now, and I'm gonna go ahead and take a peek, see if those shrimp are cooked. You could do that at any time. Just open the lid up, Give them a stir. And what you want to see with the shrimp is that they are turned like a little bit pink and curled a little bit. And these look perfect. So we are ready to serve this up. Give it a nice stir in case there's any of the cream and cheese that has not been incorporated. And oh my gosh, these look so amazing. All right. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh, nice and cheesy. They look so good. Now, I like to top mine with a little bit of green onion. That's totally optional. And look at how beautiful they are with the quinoa in there. It really makes a spectacular looking dish, and the texture difference between the grits and the little tiny bit of chew from the quinoa. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. All right. Let's give this a try here. All right. The flavors are absolutely amazing. And the shrimp looks beautifully cooked. Oh my gosh. Absolutely perfect. Oh my gosh. I hope you give this a try. Change up the cheese. You don't even have to add shrimp in your shrimp and grits, although it wouldn't be shrimp and grits, would it? But you could add something else if you wanted. This would be delicious with cooked chicken, you know, like just lightly sauteed chicken till it's cooked through and then add it in at the end, or even pressure cook with it. I'm sure it would be just fine. As always, make it yours, make it delicious, and keep it real.